Commissioners. At this time, Bobby, would you do the roll call?
Commissioner Hartline, Commissioner Spiller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Gould.
And Danny did announce he just run a few minutes late. We're going to go ahead and start. Under old business, discussion on the budget for fiscal year 2019. So, Angela, if you're ready,
Yep. Do you need me to turn the camera so it shows the screen?
yes.
If it will. It still doesn't show it.
Yeah.
Do you want the lights off? Or on?
You can see it.
Okay. It doesn't show up on the camera, but. So we're just gonna start in on the departments today. So the first department here is for the commission. Scoot this over so you guys can see this. So the first one is your salaries for the 5 of you. The second one, and this is per, it's got the two that are up for election and at the higher rate, the other 3 at the regular rate. This is for my salary based off the contract amount. And then the rest of these have pretty minimal expenses in the commissioner's department. Office supplies, same as last year. Publishing, same as last year. Travel, this year I didn't do any traveling, and I don't think any of you did. But they have some CRMT seminars that sometimes if we're available, we can go to them. And then here are the dues. So not much changes, no new requests for the commissioners. The next department is for the Human Resource Department that also falls underneath the commissioners. We have the official salary. Trying to make it so you can see it all. Salary per the contract. Office supplies. So how I've done this is if they're orange, they have a request. I've put in the amount that would be consistent with last year, and then off to the side, the additional amount that has been requested. So that way, once we decide what requests you want to put into the budget, we can just move them over. So for the office supplies, the reason that Angela is requesting an additional $1,000 is mostly for a new shredder or a shredder. We both have stuff that needs shredded, so actually both of us would be using this. We did some pricing. You can get ones that are really, really cheap, but they don't last. Went up to the state's attorney's office, saw the one they've had. They said theirs has lasted for at least 3 years, and it cost, I think it was $890 for the shredder. So that's what this request is for. Publishing the same. She actually said we could reduce this publishing because she didn't use any this year. What this is for is if we have to publish for any job openings. I've left it in there for now. It's kind of up in the air. You don't know if you're going to have to publish for jobs or you're not going to have to publish for jobs. So right now when we publish for them, we're just doing it on our website and through the free websites. When Tyler was looking for an assistant state's attorney, we did look into actually publishing where it was going to cost money, but then he found someone. So travel, her travel budget last year was $500. There's 2 additional conferences that she needs to go to now that she is the ICRMT agent. So the request for travel is in at $700. So $200 more than what it originally was. Dues are the same. And then professional services. This was new last year, so we just took a complete guess at what we would spend. We had never tracked this. It's for background checks. So when we have to run background checks on new employees, We guessed last year that it would be around 400, but we're looking at, we've already spent $1,500 this year in background checks. So, and this is for everybody, whether it's for ambulance or highway or anyone in the building. Angela is running the background checks through the company we're using. So I'm suggesting that next year we need to increase this to reflect the actual numbers that we're coming in at for this year. Do you have any questions about either one of the departments that fall under you guys? All right. The next is the county clerk's office. So this is the official salary based off of the resolution that you guys passed. Then we have employees line. This is based off the 2 full-time employees that are currently in the office. But you will see on the request, oh, by the way, in your stack of papers, you had the request from each department head, how they responded to the emails. So you'll see in those requests that Vonda has requested a 3rd full-time employee be added back into her budget. So that's why it's orange, and then over here to the side, this is, oh, you can't see. This is the cost of a 3rd time or full-time employee. It would be $26,335. And then these are calculated longevity bonuses based off these 2 employees in here. And then overtime, I put the same amount as last year, but I guess, Vonda, I have a question on you. Would this be more accurately reflected down in the elections? I mean, is the overtime they're working for elections?
I thought about that too. I thought that's mainly the only time we
That's
do
what I
that
thought.
overtime.
So we'll just move this, I'll move this amount down to the elections department when we get down there.
So actually, Bonnie, you had no overtime in the actual clerk's office?
I don't
Any
think so.
overtime is,
Very rarely.
okay,
I mean, when we do, it's because of the election.
okay, all right.
And then here's the expenses, 4,000, the same as last year for office supplies. If you look, you have 4,000, then 6,000, and then this year it looks like it's coming in at 3. So I think this is an appropriate amount, this $4,000. Maintenance, I took this off because when I look back, it was, it's something we haven't had to pay for a few years. So I think it's possibly a maintenance agreement for something that we don't have anymore, would be my guess, because we haven't paid it for 3 years, so.
Do you have a copy or something here one time, Bonnie, you paid for?
I'm gonna say the only thing we're not
Probably.
making payments on is a copier, but
That's probably what it is.
I look for that to eventually change.
The travel budget, I have in here based off of the trend to reduce that to $500. This year, it looks like we're gonna come in at right at 300, the year before at 60. So. Vital records, looks like this year we haven't done anything for supplies, but I don't know if we purchased them at the end of the year.
Getting ready to.
Yeah, and then the year before 663, so I think 750 is probably a good number. Dues, it's always $240 a year. Service contracts, this is for the Pitney Bowes machine, it's $339 a quarter, so this is the exact amount we spend. And then the restoration of records, we didn't spend any of the money this year.
We're
So-
in the process right now, though. We've got 2 books that's getting fixed right now.
Okay, do you know about how much that will be?
No.
No.
I know Brandon's been working, trying to get the price on that, but
Okay,
we don't have it just yet.
Those books that Terry had in your office that was above, because he said that he would like to restore those sometime, is that, okay, is that what you're looking at?
Was one of them the great big one?
I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
old,
Yeah, that one is in the process right now.
okay.
so I haven't, next year's budget, I had removed this amount here. The reason being is when I talked to Fiddler, when we were trying to work out for the, your new fees,
Yeah.
she was talking about one of the fees now is for recorders, document automation, and it's a certain amount that you charge that goes into a special fund for that. And she said it's specifically used for restoration of records. So it looks like once you guys redo your fees and you're charging that amount, then that fund would be used to restore the
How much
records.
is it, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if the fee schedule's been set yet.
I don't think it's been set.
Vonda, did you want to add anything to any of yours, or commissioners have any questions for Vonda?
Not on that one, I don't.
I mean, on the whole thing.
Just on the employee, you know, it's, in the contract, it says three employees, so.
No questions? All right, so the next department is the treasurer's department. Again, based off resolution, this is the treasurer's salary for next year. The employees for next year, this includes the 2 hourly employees and the 1 salaried employee. You have longevity bonus for the 2 hourly employees in there. This year Darren had $50, I'm projecting he spent 28, but could be up to $50 in overtime, but they normally don't have overtime, so I would recommend we don't budget for it. And then, this is a request from the treasurer. He's requesting $7,000 be added back in his budget for a part-time employee to come assist when taxes are due. So again, I've left it over there, but it's over here. I've left it 0, but it's over here. Office supplies, same as last year, pretty consistent with what we spend. Publishing, same as last year, it's always right around that number. Same thing with dues, it's at $490. And then, training, he is requesting that we add $1,000 in his budget for training. That's in the wrong spot. $1,000 in his budget for training for his employees. Any questions about the treasurer stuff?
So it's a total of 8,000 requests.
Yes, 7,000 for a part-time and 1,000 for training. Now, I don't know, we know that the treasurer is changing this year with the election, Darren's not running. I don't know if the new treasurer has to do, I guess I should have asked Darren that, the new treasurer has to travel, do they have to go to training, seminars, anything like that, because we have nothing here in travel, so. That's something I'll follow up on, I just thought about, with it being a new person. All right, so moving on to the assessor's department. This is the salary for the assessor. Her contract is up in the middle of May. I've added in here a 2% raise to be effective once the contract is up. So basically half a year at the current salary and then half a year with a raise in there. These are for the 3 employees in her office and the amounts that each of them makes, so it's a calculated amount, and their longevity bonuses for them. Part of Tammy's request that you'll see in there is for a part-time person to come help scan their documents. Tammy, do you want to explain this?
Our property record cards are just in hard copy form. We don't have those preserved anywhere. So it's just something I'd like to see happen down the road, you know, in case of a damage, catastrophe, anything. I just feel kind of uneasy that those are not stored somewhere digitally. I don't really know what the cost would be. I did get a cost to have it professionally done. It was very expensive. So we were kind of looking at maybe doing it gradually in-house, just to scan and get them in some software.
But that's something we could do, except for the labor part. We have the ability to scan.
Yeah, just have someone come and shoot them through a scanner and I don't really, I got that one estimate from a company, but I don't really have cost on doing it in-house, but it is something I'd like to work on, you know. It would take more than a year to do, I'm sure, but it's just something out there that I'd like to see happen.
So you're asking for a part-time person to work on that year-round? How many hours do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, it's just something I kind of shot out there right before budget time, and I don't really have any hard figures, but
So that's her total for labor. And then office supplies, about the same. Looks like we're coming in a little light for this year, but I recommended that we leave that the same. For publishing, 5,000 is pretty close to what she comes in. Travel the same, the 500. Fuel, I'm estimating that we should increase this to reflect about what we're coming in this year. Fuel prices have gone up. Obviously, I can't predict what they're gonna do, but I would guess that they're going to continue to go up. Maintenance the same, dues the same. Training, she comes in right around $1,000 every year. And then special commissions, last year we only had 1,800, but as you can see, we've gone over that. And so this is the calculated amount. When I talked to Tammy, she doesn't know for sure how many meetings they're gonna have. It depends on
that's for your
how
board
many
review.
disputes. Yeah.
They're paying, we don't know this time of year how many meetings they're gonna have in the spring. Depends on how many complaints we take in and how many people come in for meetings, so.
I'm sure that's gonna continue to increase.
What now?
I'm sure that will continue to increase.
Well, not too bad, but I think we estimated at 4 meetings, which is what how often we met. Last year, prior year it was 2 meetings. That just shows you, it just depends.
Are they paid by the hour or by meeting?
But
By
I mean,
meeting.
By the meeting.
anything else you wanna add, Tammy, or?
I can't think, I did throw that out there about the increased, website, the enhanced website,
Yes.
so I don't know.
That won't be out of the general fund, but do you have that amount?
No, I had emailed it to you, Scott I forwarded that. Is it 2,200, something like that? He emailed me last week with that.
Oh, with the new amount for the
Uh-huh.
website. So
Uh-huh.
do you wanna explain to them what it will do?
We have the website, the DevNet website, and Darren is able to, collect taxes, all that's displayed, tax amounts, exemption information. Problem is, we don't have a link to get our map out there on the website, and we really need that. Other counties do that, and it just really would be helpful. But that's an enhanced website, so what we have now that's built into our DevNet payment is their basic site. This would cost a little more, but it really would be nice to have an enhanced site.
Would that be something that would fall into mayor's work on a new website?
No, this is a service that DevNet, like add-on service for DevNet, right?
What you meant.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you get on our county website, if you go to the right and it says property search, that's the link to the DevNet site.
Would this qualify for GIS?
Yes, it would. This portion of the DevNet payment would fall under that. I mean, I don't see why that would be a problem.
Did we hit on everything? I think so. No questions?
Oh, the fuel thing, you know, this past year with the highway department having that problem with the thing that reads.
Fuel
the-
system?
Yeah, I don't really, I went over and we went over the fuel. It's not really representative of what we used this past year, so is that problem fixed or?
They are almost done fixing it. They have everything, they're doing the last bit of setup over there to be fixed. But when I went back and talked to Kevin, and he's, everyone is over, so it's not just you. So in total, even if we added everyone together, we're over. And he was looking and showing me how much gas prices have increased this year versus last year. So he's saying it's not that the usage, I mean, your usage may be a little bit off because it was an estimate. The increase in fuel prices is what's driving the cost up. I'm gonna back up because I forgot, up here under Vonda's section, when Tammy just talked about those other requests. Vonda, you had brought up a couple things that you had requested for your office, some voting equipment.
So that'd be under
Would that be under
elections.
elections?
Well, actually, we'll go under capital, but
Okay.
while we're talking about your department. So it would go under the capital, expenditures, because of the quantity of it.
Okay, so you want to talk about it?
Yeah, do you
Okay.
want to talk about, do you need this or do you have this?
No, I don't, well, I don't know the exact figures, but, okay, our election equipment is very old. I'd say 20 years or more old. And some of the AccuVote machines, if the ballots go in, there's about 4 of them that we're holding our breath on that they will work. So Liberty came in and gave us a demonstration on all of that, and the technology on it is so much better than what we have right now. In fact, the technology right now, to where we're using 2 machines every election, it would take it down to just 1 machine on the elections. So now Platinum is who we use now. I've asked them for estimates on the new stuff, and they've not got back to me on it yet, but that's definitely, we're gonna have to make some changes there real soon on the election equipment.
Did we talk about that last year?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Terry hit on that.
We talked about voting booths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I knew
now,
something.
Terry did voting booths. Now,
Voting booths,
we
okay.
have been slowly getting new booths. I'm more concerned about the equipment than the booths. We can hold off on those booths as far as I'm concerned. But the equipment is just about a have-to case.
Is that something that would need to be done, all of them in 1 year, or is it something we can gradually do, or? I mean, if we find the gold mine and we can, get 2 new ones this year, or 3 new ones and 3 next year, or
They wouldn't be,
anything.
we'd have to get all new because the compatible, what we've got is so old. It wouldn't be compatible with the new ones. No way. Because like I said, right now, we have 2. We have the AccuVote and the TSX tablet. And if you've got new equipment, you're only using 1, so it wouldn't work.
So like Vonda said, I know she's reached out to another company to get an estimate. But for the Liberty system, it's a lot of new equipment that we're talking about. You got 2.5 pages worth of equipment and support. The total cost of all of it is $185,975. But they have a financing option that you can do. You have to pay $50,000 down, and then $18,443 for 24 quarterly payments.
How much
So
was that? How much per quarter? You say?
it says 18,443.
And you,
That
you
can't-
also have to remember, we got 20 precincts, so you're talking new equipment for every precinct plus our office, so actually it'd be 21.
Could it be combined with
That's not right when I'm reading this. Vonda, you may have to reach back out to them, because if I do 18,443 times 24 payments,
Yeah.
it's $442,000 off 185,000. I mean, unless they're charging an astronomical amount for interest.
Flag that off here, just in case it said quarterly and it should be annual.
No, it says 24 payments of 18,443. Yeah, it couldn't be 4, because that wouldn't even be enough.
Plus the 50,000.
But that figure is for all 20 precincts?
where you've got precincts combined,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to have two machines for each precinct, or have a machine do two precincts.
No, I think it was one,
Like Cobden, would it just be one?
no, I believe they each have, but it's just gonna be one machinist, where right now we'll have 4 in there. 4.
Because it's split.
Mhm. I mean, Bobby, you know how old they are.
Just real quick history. Back when the punch card was causing all the problems in Florida, the federal government put a lot of money into new voting systems. And, every time a grant would come by, I'd apply for it, but that's been a long time ago, but I think I ended up getting like $250,000 in grants back at that time. Federal money that came through the state. This time there's some federal money that's coming in, but the state has earmarked that for cybersecurity, so, that doesn't leave anything for purchasing. So,
Yeah, they're really big into the cyber. Right now, they're putting everything into that.
We just got any more information we need, yeah.
You expect to get,
Like I said, Bonnie, I reached out to them 2 weeks ago, and they've not got back with me yet, so. They'll be here this week, I'll try and see what I can do.
And then you had one other thing that you had requested for, is it called Avid?
Yeah, that's
What?
the land records through Fiddler. It eventually, and I do expect it next year, they're gonna mandate you to have to where you can do all of this. Right now, in recording, you come in, or we do it through the mail. It's eventually gonna come to where you can do it online. And it's eventually gonna come down to, they're gonna give you a certain date, you have to have that done. And we think it's probably gonna come in 2019, but I don't know yet. So Fiddler does have a new program that they did come down and show us called Avid. But, I mean, I know we're strapped for money, but I'm just letting you know, it's eventually gonna come to, it'll be a have-to case.
And this is for recording?
Recording.
And the cost of that, based off the quote from Fiddler, is $33,500. That's the initial cost. for the first year, it would be 33.5, and then this was 17.5 as a one-time cost. So then going forward, it would be 16,000 a year.
But we don't know when that's gonna be mandated. No, the reason I'm asking, because that way if we're thinking that it might be 2020, then we can put some in there and build on that instead of trying to, but you don't know. Okay.
My guess would actually be summer of 2019 is what my guess would be.
Well, see, they have to give you a little lead time on, you would think, because they know how
I
government
look for
budgets
them,
work.
I look for them to let me know
By the
first
end of the year,
January
okay, yeah,
is what I look for.
oh, okay.
Recorder's automation under PDDs, but that's.
Yes.
Okay, no, I was just trying to,
And with, when we finally get the predictable fee thing passed, that should be able to help us, because we're asking for a little more. That should help us. We might have a little extra when that time comes.
Did I hit everything? But I think that was the only other thing. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to forget those two things.
yeah, that's two big
Yeah.
ticket items.
Well, I had them up here because they're capital, but as we go
Right.
through the departments, we might as well talk.
No, absolutely, and I'd rather do it that way so we can, at least for my notes, I can categorize them.
We did the assessors.
And in order for you to understand, like on the election, the Liberty Company, they're willing to come down and demonstrate it again if any of us would like to see, just exactly what we're talking.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Told to bring 21 down and demonstrate it on the 6th. Yeah.
Maybe.
So I just skipped the circuit clerk and the state's attorney because they're both in court today, so they can't be here. And then I skipped the sheriff. He asked about what time I thought we'd get to his budget. Obviously, I was a little bit off. I told him 11 o'clock. So he should be here within an hour. So I'll skip him from now and then go back up there. So this is the coroner's department. This is his regular salary, same salary for secretary and employees, same labor line last year versus this year. Office supplies, all of his is pretty consistent. The only change that I've made here is to travel. They don't travel. So I just took the $500 out. As far back as I can see, back to 2015, no one's ever traveled. So all the rest of the budget is the same as last year, and it all looks pretty consistent, except for this lab services. I propose that we increase this by a couple $1,000s based off of the trend. It was set at 3,500, but this year it looks like we're going to come in closer to 5,300, and the year before at 6,800. Obviously, this is something that we cannot predict. It's
We
for all
can't
costs.
predict it, but we've under budgeted it every time.
We've under budgeted, so
That's something that's probably gonna continue.
unfortunately,
Let's see, what is it?
it's for autopsies.
I thought autopsies was gonna line up.
Oh, it's for the lab work
The lab.
done for autopsies. They're kind of related, they're just separated out. This is pretty straightforward. Any
Yeah,
questions?
I've noticed on his, because he's asking about this the last several years, about the refrigeration unit.
Yes, but he has a coroner's automation fund, and we budgeted in there last year. Well, I would suggest we budgeted in there this year just in case he needs it. So he's not gonna replace it until it goes out. But he wants to have the money there, so when it goes out, he can immediately go buy one.
Because I know he's talked about that the last several years.
Yes. Is that, yes. And it's in this year's budget.
How much do we have?
In
Yeah.
coroner's automation, We budgeted 10.2.
Yeah, because I mean, he has on his notes here, think about refrigeration, if it goes out, how much max are we talking? You know?
Yeah, I mean, probably more than that. I don't know what size unit he has now. But I'd say that won't be enough.
Well,
He doesn't really spend a whole lot out of his fund. So, I mean, the money's still there.
okay, I
So
mean,
so
and
the
that's,
10.2 that was in this year's budget, he didn't spend, so it'll be available for next year's budget. Now, if it's not enough, we may need to increase it. That's the amount Phil gave me.
Yes.
well, and I get that, it just, he's asked about this, and we've dodged the bullet for a couple of years on it, and if it happens, we'll have to do something, so, okay.
Yeah, no, as long as you have it budgeted, then when it goes out, he can replace it. He doesn't want to replace it ahead of time.
No, I
He
know,
says there's no
I know.
reason to, so.
And I think that's something you ought to make a note on, though, that we might want to look at increasing that. Say maybe $800, make it a little higher,
By how much?
800. Just
Okay.
move it up a little bit. And costs like that are going to continue to go up.
Oh,
along
that
with-
makes sense. All right. And the next department we have here is animal control. Again, salary for, the official, salary for the employees, same as last year. Dirk's employees are part-time employees, so this, we just estimate, like for our regular hourly employees, I know how many hours in their rate. With this, it's just, it fluctuates how many hours they work, but 21.5 has been working out for him. And I believe he is fully staffed now, so this year he's coming in at 20,397, but he was not fully staffed the whole year. So I would suggest you leave that at 21.5.
Absolutely.
Most of these are the exact same and seem pretty consistent with what he's spending. Fuel, you can see he's way over this year. Again, we budgeted 3,000, he's coming in closer to 7,200 this year. My suggestion would be to increase this. So I have this increase by 4,000 to go up to 7,000. On this one, the trend shows me that he could probably do 3,000 instead of the 4,000 we've been budgeting. It looks like last year it came in at 2,800, this year coming in about 2,600. Rabies tags is about the same every year. You may be able to decrease this to $800, but you're talking $200. So. Utilities, based off that numbers for this year and should be pretty consistent going forward. It was higher the year before because if you remember right, we bid out our electric, and so our rates dropped, and our rates between this year and the contract we just signed for next year are very, very close. So I would assume it's going to be right about what we're coming in this year, so that's why I put 3,000 in there versus 5. Telecommunications, about the same every year, about $2,000, and landfill disposal is right around $800. Any questions or anything we're missing in animal control?
Did he turn anything in, or
He
just?
did not.
Okay.
ESDA. I have the same salary in there from last year to this year. I don't know if, I think this is set by you guys, and turned in with this grant. Looks like office supplies, about the same. Equipment, I have down here at $750. The last year, if you look, it was really high, but he purchased 2 computers that year, so that was a big portion. If you take that out, he's right around $700, so. Maintenance, same as last year. Travel, I did reduce travel by a little bit. We can move it back up to $750. He does very, very little travel, a couple $100. Fuel, I'm also suggesting that we increase his fuel here. Same reason, fuel prices. His dues. Training, he doesn't really do training, and actually this is something that was miscoded last year. It's not training. So as far back as I can see, he hasn't expensed anything for training. Utilities. It's right there. 2,000, possibly could be a little bit lower, but that's pretty close. And then telecommunications, first phone bill. It was at $1,360, which is kind of an odd amount, but if you look at what he's coming in at. Last year, $1,100, this year, $1,100. So.
Now, something we might want to look at with him, because he's said something about, said, and Crystal, help me out here, since he's got a, didn't he say that because of the new person coming in, that he's gonna have to go to some sort of training or something, and quarterly training, or?
You asking me?
Yeah, or somebody.
I don't know what new person's coming in.
The head, not here, somebody in the head office, and he said that they've revamped all the new guidelines, and they're gonna have to go to some sort of training, and,
Probably with IEMA.
yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, cause, and under his travel and training, and I gotta talk to him about that, because, I know that he goes to quarterly meetings, doesn't he, or something, and,
Maybe monthly. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
and that just doesn't look right unless he's not turning in the receipts. Because I know that he goes to, like, I thought it was quarterly, but if he goes to monthly, and then, I don't know. I just know that he's, but is this what he turned in? I mean, did he turn anything in?
No.
Okay.
I apologize, I didn't have this program started.
Well, then his maintenance may need to be looked at as well. 'Cause I know we donated a couple $1,000s worth of work to the rescue vehicles, because we didn't have money to pay for them this year. 'Cause it was things that so.
Well, and I know that his air conditioning unit was going out, and that was taken care of. But again, that's why we send these out, so that people can fill these out, so we know, because if not, we're guessing.
He came to us about the computers.
Yeah, no, the computers were, yeah, we took care of those.
Here's the travel, so, a couple times he's turned travel in. February, May, June, August.
Okay, I mean, it is what it is. I just know that when I'm talking to him, that he says he's traveled here, going here, meeting, and then something about with the requirements that he's got, he said that he's gonna have to start doing more, so I don't know. I
Do you
mean,
think, if he said that, do you think Jay increases
no, let me
back
talk to him.
Well, do you want me to at least increase it back to where it was last year?
On his travel,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 250, I mean, it's not a huge difference.
yeah. And his training, we've lined that out.
I did because he's never.
Yeah, and I think what he does is probably codes his training under travel instead of training. I don't know. We'll leave it, and if there's any tweaks, I'll talk to him.
Okay.
And back on that too, did we give him and Dirk a raise, what was it, 2 years ago, last year? I thought we did bump him up. Because the reason I'm looking at that, it's 14,755, which I thought it was 15,000 that we moved him to.
No, this is his current rate. It is 14,075. Now, I don't know when the last time he got a raise was, and I really don't know how his rate works.
How come a number like that? I mean, you would think that we would have a round number.
You probably gave him a percentage increase off where he was at, and
Okay.
that's what it came in at, would be my guess, but. And with Dana, I don't really understand Dana's grant, to its full extent, so I don't know if I know his salary is set by you guys, I don't know if there's limits for his grant, I don't know if the
No,
total
that I
amount
don't-
has a limit.
That I don't
So-
know either.
I can do whatever you want to do with that. And with, animal control for dirt, it's the same amount also.
Okay,
When we can put a different amount in there.
well, I just know that Dana, when we had the problems in the bottoms and he was doing, I mean, I'll have to give him credit, he does a good job, and he has the contacts to make and works very well with, the highway department and with the people that he's come in contact with. And, yeah, he does, he's worked that out. I personally would like to, what was he, 14?
Dana,
If we're
14.
paying Dirk,
You can't, I don't think you can pay Dirk for as many hours as he puts in.
no, I know, we can't, I don't know, like I said, I'm just one person, but I know that.
Bobby, do you know if Dirk's salary is set by resolution?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and with Dana, I don't know how he's paid, I don't know what we get back on that, I know that it's not half, is it? On his, I don't know,
That's not much, but that's a 2% raise, $360 for the year.
I'd like to give it to him.
Is that what you want in there? I don't know how many years he's been without a raise. I don't know that information, so.
I thought that we raised him and Dirk at the same time.
This is Dirk.
Yeah,
I put Dana's into. Are you all in agreement with this?
no, and I'm just saying, because with these two right here, I know that Dirk, there's no telling how many hours he puts in. And Dana, when it comes time that we need somebody in that position, like with what happened in the bottoms, and I know that he's on it. I know he is. And it's not that much, but it's
Yeah.
it's just showing both of those guys we appreciate what they do. I'm just one.
I know, that's why I'm looking at everybody else. So,
Or if we want to hold off and see what we got, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, plug it in there and we'll see where we are with it plugged in there.
plug it in there with the 2%. Okay.
Maybe make it back up.
Well, hopefully you don't have to take out, what, $300. Communications. This one looked a little different this year than last year. Last year when we were budgeting to have Raleigh here in-house. After the budget was established, then that's when he left and we hired an outside IT company. So this year's budget looks a little bit different. Up here under the employees line is, actually, I'm gonna change this. This is this is for FOIA. It's about $600 a payroll for 26 payrolls, comes out to $15,600. And then our service contracts, since it's not done, the IT is not done in-house, now is now down here for what we estimate to pay for our outside IT vendor. Really close to the same for telecommunications. I'm gonna skip this for a minute. and go down here. For contractual services, it's about $46.50 a month is about what it is. So this is what it comes out to be. Sorry, I have these backwards. Here is for our IT service, that's what contractual service is.
Okay.
Here is for our other service contracts that get paid through the communications department. And then this is the one I just skipped a minute ago. Last year we budgeted $10,000 for computer service and equipment. You'll see on several office holders' requests that they'll talk about computers. At least from what I hear, we haven't really bought new computers for, the state's attorney's office gets them because they have to have an up-to-date computer, they're using the court system. But for, I think everyone else, we have not bought computers in a long time. So we have a lot of computers that are starting to not work so well.
I know Raleigh, when we started about this, he had like a 3, 5, and 10-year plan, and that we were putting money back on. I didn't know, is that under this line, or did we put that under capital?
We don't have any money put back for computers.
Okay. 'Cause I know
This is just a guess. I've reached out to Mayor and asked them to identify for me the worst computers that we have and which ones we need to replace, like in what order, and then tell me approximately how many, if we want to replace them all over 3 years, approximately how many computers is that, and to
Right.
get the guess at this time of how much money we're going to need for computers and other equipment that.
Is this off your guess or something they gave you?
No, this is off mine. They have not gotten back to me yet. I just reached out to them in the last week, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid they're gonna come back and give us a big amount. It has to be replaced.
To give you an idea on price, I did receive a price from them to replace my director's computer downstairs, and it was right at $1,700. Now, that's going with the 2 screens, which not everyone would want, so that may be a difference of a few hundred, but
Is it a desktop or a laptop?
desktop.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea.
While there, you have many issues, serious.
Just with, mainly with the server, with Fiddler going down every week,
Which
more
we
than
take
once.
care
it's
of. Okay.
that's in the works, so.
How many have your PCs?
Unless there's something behind the scenes that Mayor can identify, we haven't been having any problems. I think ours got replaced when we moved in this building.
What year was that?
How long have we been here? 4 years?
Yeah, see, I thought some of ours got replaced too.
At that time, but the average lifespan of a computer is about 5 years. And then, the ones they've identified that on the list that they sent me already that are red, some of them are operating on operating systems that Microsoft doesn't even support anymore. So if something were to go down, there is no support for it. So those are the ones that he's identifying for me to say, these really need replaced soon. And we can lower the number. I just know all throughout this year, I don't know how many times I said, you're gonna have to wait till next year before we can get you a computer.
Yeah, I know.
Over and over again.
I would not want to lower that, because we have to start putting that in the budget that we can start replacing these. Or if not, then we're gonna get hit in 1 year with a whole bunch of computers going out at the same time, and we're gonna have to come up with a big number. So I would like to leave that number in there and start, depending on merit, start
Leave
leaving.
it in there till we see what he tells us.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
from there.
Oh, any questions about any of this? Communications department. Nope. Elections. The big difference you're gonna see in election budget this year versus last year is most things are about cut in half. We had 2 elections this year, we'll go back to 1 election next year. So I went back and pulled budgets from the year before last to get amounts, and most of them were about half. So was 2,000 this year, proposing 1,000 for overtime. And actually, if you can see, I think this is where, Vonda, we were talking about up top, under your county clerks. Let me get up there real fast. You have the overtime up here at 1375, and then down here in elections, we have hardly any overtime. I think it belongs down here.
So that should be
Yes.
flopped on that, yeah.
Yes, so it's 147. So really, probably all of it should be right here. How much was this up here again? Let's just figure it out. 1370, $1,500 budget. So if we're gonna eliminate that from up there, then this probably should be somewhere closer to 1,500, 2,000. Will that drop also a little bit? Would 1,500 work since 2,000 was last year? I mean, does that drop also with having one fewer election?
It could. I mean,
You're coming in right about two. You'll probably come in right around $3,000 this year in total overtime. So I moved this back up here so that we can take it off of the
Yeah.
department up top. So part-time, again, this is going back to what the budget was before. Part-time help, 4,000. Vonda, stop me if you want to talk about any of this stuff
that's fine.
that's you disagree with there. Election judges, I rolled this back to the 2017 amount, which was $8,000.
Yeah, see, the only thing on that, it just depends on how long those judges are gonna be at that polling place. You know, if they're having trouble, they could be there a while. That right there is gonna be kind of a guess.
So this year, we're looking at spending about 17,000. I doubled it because we've had one election, getting ready to have a second one. And the year before last, we had one election, we spent $7,500. And this was the budget when we spent 7,500. So, I don't.
Two years ago, when we had that budget, Vonda, was that back when we had to have 5 judges?
Like I said, we had 5 judges.
But now we can go back to 3, right?
Consolidated.
Right, so,
And hopefully they're not there as long. I mean, that should be
yes, so I mean,
simple.
what I'm saying though, when we're looking at the $8,000 there compared to this one over here,
Mhm.
that was with the 5 judges, so that 8,000 ought to give us plenty of cushion, shouldn't it?
I hope. Yeah.
Same thing, publishing, half. The maintenance, I don't remember what this is. Vonda, do you know what that is?
All of that is pretty consistent. I mean, that's just on payments.
Oh, 5432. It's to Platinum Technology.
Yeah.
And then I put in another $500 in there because sometimes they have to do minor other maintenance.
In addition,
Yes. Well, it's not maintenance on those machines. It's, for instance, I think this is where they put shredding. Yes.
oh, okay.
When you have to shred documents. So far this year, I spent $267 in shredding, but actually Brandy was telling me that you guys have some stuff that still
We
needs
have
to be.
some, it's just not that done.
I'm gonna insert this so I can remember. Voter registration software, this is the annual cost and price of it. Election supplies, half as much as this past year. Polling facilities, again, half as much.
That one, I need to up it just a tad, because I've got one precinct, one polling place. They didn't wanna do it anymore, so
Go through
I told them, I asked them, I said, will you let me keep it if, for the consolidated, we up to $50? And they said yes, so,
For for next year?
yes.
Okay, so $50.
Because there's no other place for us to go in Mill Creek, so.
Like that? Alright.
$50.
This is our gym software license, it's the annual amount, $8,100, and this is our election contract, it's flat amount. So it doesn't matter, for these, it doesn't matter how many elections we have, those are contractual amounts. And that's all I have for elections. Any questions? Anything I missed in there, Vonda, that you request? I mean, we talked about
It
the,
was pretty.
courthouse jail, Department 32. These are some of the, well, the first one's a little bit easier. We have a contract based off of our contractual amount. This is what I'm estimating as high as it could be. This year, we're coming in at a lot less. I do believe this contract expires this year.
It does expire this year.
I'm pretty sure it does. It's sitting on my desk, but
I'm talking about in 2019.
in 2019. Just pull it up. Do you know this offhand?
I don't.
Okay. I'm trying to. So it was signed in February of 15. If I go up here, it's 4 years, so it expires in February of 19. So I put it in at the same rates, possibly we can negotiate lower rates, and not an increase, it could go down, but. This next one is the hardest one to predict, it's detention for our juveniles, it completely ranges, some years it's as low as $1,300, this year it's as high as $18,000. We've been trying to be pretty consistent and just budgeting 12.5, knowing some years we're gonna be over budgeted and some years we're gonna be under budgeted.
Yeah, it's just quarterly, if we have a juvenile setting in.
It could be one person.
I know,
So,
I think that high one was.
yes, yes. So. Maintenance, about the same every year. Service contracts. We actually put together a schedule of a service contracts. It looks like it needs to increase by about $2,000, which is actually really close to what we're coming in this year. Utilities. This is same budget as last year, also put together a list, and this seems like a good number. And then that's all there is to courthouse jail. Any questions or anything we need to discuss there?
No, we have done better on that this year compared to before.
Yes. Yeah, the year before last, this was 506,000.
Yeah.
All right, and then court expenses. So these are for your 3 public defenders, and I don't really understand it, but we pay $1,000 towards the judge's salary. That's what we get billed for every year. So I have 2% raises in there for them. That's been the pretty standard that I've been putting in there. You can take them out, leave them, put more, whatever you wanna do, but I just put them in there for now at 2% raises. You have, 3 public defenders. Who are they? You have, Jeremy Lloyd, Brian Tremblay, and Tyler Tripp. So Tyler Tripp and Jeremy Lloyd are what we consider our full-time public defenders. And Brian Tremblay is a part-time public defender. So the next item here are the travel stipends for the public defenders. Right now, one of them gets $350 a month and one of them gets $200 a month. Judge Bowie is requesting for both of them to go to $350 a month. So, actually that's not the additional amount, that'd be the total. The additional cost would be $1,800. So here is what we're currently paying. $1,000 in office supplies. Again, I removed the $1,500 for equipment. We've never spent it. Food, we didn't spend any for food this year, but I think we must have some stuff miscoded because I know they bought food for jurors. So I would suggest we leave this in here. Dues, it's always $450. Service contracts, actually have the exact amount of the service contracts in there. It's at $1,573. We have one that you'll see it's $1,373 for this year. We have one that we pay that's $200, and for the last 2 years they've given it back to us. Like it's one of those where you have to pay it, but I guess if they, I don't know why, but I guess if they get enough money, they give you your dues back. But I don't want to count on that, so I budgeted for that $200 here. The jurors, this year's budget is $6,500, but if you look, we haven't been at $6,500. In 16 we came in at $10,700. In 17 we came in at $8,000. This year it looks like we're coming in at $8,800. My thought was this needs to be increased to at least $8,000. We're not coming in anywhere near $6,500 unless we're making a change.
Is that for the grand jury too? Is that
That
what
is the grand jury. So,
I think depending on, who knows, but if Dr. Williams in the state's attorney, that could be depending on how it approaches cases,
that's true.
that could change. I mean, you go down to nothing or that increase, so.
Do you want this? Do you feel more comfortable with this like here and an extra $1,500 out here? Like leaving it the same, but saying we may need more? Or do you want me to put the $8,000 in here?
Well, I mean, that, who knows, like I said, depends on who the state's attorney is, so.
That's exactly right there.
That could change from 8 to almost nothing, or it could go up, so. I'd just say just leave it in there like you have it, and we just have to see.
Okay.
I don't think we can properly predict that at this point.
No, not at all, but I have it in here with an increase right now. I
Yeah.
can take it
And
back.
that's fine, I mean, it's probably better that, that's what I meant, leave it at your increase and then
Good with that?
go from there.
All right, then the next is legal counsel. Last year we budgeted, $60,000. He doesn't spend $60,000. In 16, he spent 70. In 17, he spent, 88. This year, he's gonna spend 80. Now, what this is for is when we don't use our public defenders and we have to hire outside legal counsel, sometimes for juveniles, sometimes because of a conflict of interest, sometimes because there's too many defendants and they all have to have a different lawyer.
again, that's a line that
It's killed us every year.
it's never what it should be or shouldn't be. I mean, it's just, I don't know how you.
It's a big expense, but if we keep the same amount as we kept last year, we keep the 60,000, and you're gonna be back in the same boat we are right now, looking for $20,000
We always
Because I-
have.
invoices that I can't pay in my
Every year
office.
it's up.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of conflicts, which I understand.
Yeah, I mean, between our public defenders and our conflicts, we're spending $200,000. $180,000, right?
For public, yes.
Yeah.
No, I think you're gonna have to raise it.
And then I reduced his legal publications. I think $7,000 was a little high. It's been coming in closer to 5, so. And that's it for court expenses. Let me go back to the judge's sheet. No, it doesn't have anything on there that's. So that's all the departments within the general fund, and if you wanna move back up, I saw Scott is here, so we can do the sheriff's department now.
We took a short break before she stopped.
That would be great.
Yeah.